What makes me feel like a little kid again? Watching TV. During the early stages of my life when all I had to watch was the TV, I was introduced to so many shows. My older siblings were mostly shown to older 90s and early 2000s shows, so when I arrived, those were the things that I was exposed to. I'm thankful that I had this opportunity, because I would have probably never watched it. I don't remember anything since it was so long ago. All I remember was I learned how to use the remote so I know when my favorite shows are on. Why I had to do all of this in the first place was that there were many shows that I didn't like, and I had to wait for the shows that I liked to come on. I mostly like the cartoon shows, but which ones? That's what I'll get into. So let's take a trip down my memory lane and see what my idiotic child version of me obsessed over. Number 1. My Big Friend. This show features 3 kids having fun with their big friends. What I liked about this show was the adventure scenarios that they went off to. It was really nice because it made me understand certain situations and turned into a simpler meaning. An episode I remember was when they walked up a rainbow into a colorful dimension, or when they climbed up that mountain, or went into the gingerbread house, or... Wow, I'm so childish. Number 2. Mr. Maker. I liked how unique the show was. It brought up my inner art skill. It felt less like a show and more of a channel, but I was amused. This show is mainly about this man called Mr. Maker, and he does numerous kids' art projects. I never made any of them. I just enjoyed watching him make it. Or I was just lazy. Or I didn't have any of the supplies. Or all of them combined. Number 3. Peep in the Big Wide World. This show was the definition of simplicity. This show puts the emphasis on big in the title. It shocked me when I realized how small the characters were compared to the real world. What was fun was when the characters discovered many real-life objects, trying to figure out what it does and what they can use it for, like a bar of soap, or a straw, or food coloring. Number 4. Charlie and Lola. This show's style was interesting. What I found weird was the fact that the characters in the background looked like they're drawn with pencil crayon, while certain inanimate objects were real-life pictures. This show has a somewhat similar understanding of My Big Friend. They both replicate taking situations and putting them in a more interactive way. In one episode, they were playing snakes and ladders, and they were the players on the board, interacting with the objects around them. It makes it easier for the kids to understand. Number 5. Toopy and Binoo. What I also found strange about this show was the size proportions. Toopy, a mouse, and Binoo the cat were completely opposite. I mean, there were episodes where Toopy shrunk, making him the little one, which was better. But it wasn't always like that. Also, Toopy was the only one that talked. Binoo was a silent one. But I think we can all agree that Binoo is way cuter. Number 6. Numberjacks. Now this show is by far one of the creepiest shows I've ever seen. I'm surprised that it never bothered me. I only like the show for its concept. I'd say I'm one of the very few people that can actually do math as a kid, so seeing a show conveying numbers was what I liked. But again, the style of the characters was just, ugh. Just don't get distracted by the art style. But the show was actually cool. The numbers live in an ordinary sofa in an ordinary room, solving problems using their numerical abilities. Number 7. The Big Comfy Couch. This might be one of the oldest on the list. Now, I don't remember much about this one, but the only thing I do remember has to be one of the most memorable childhood moments. For those people who watch this show, I tried to do the clock scene. I would get a bunch of paper, tape it to the floor, and draw a clock all over it. Then I would try to recreate that exact scene. I was not flexible, so I couldn't actually do it. But I had fun, and that's all that matters. Number 8. Rugrats. Another old show on this list. It always bewildered me, knowing the fact that the babies can talk. Being at such a small age, knowing that they're just babies with the ability to speak in complete sentences surprised me. Especially that girl, Angelica. I hated Angelica, but what was shocking to me was knowing that Angelica was actually 3. Watching the show when I was 8, I saw Angelica as a 10-year-old. But she was only 3. What? Number 9. Oggy and the Cockroaches. What makes the show so great was that the show doesn't have dialogue, just sound effects and screaming is all that it should offer. I'll say, this show is brutal. There is an excessive amount of pain in this show, but I loved it. I was never a malicious kid, but the painful moments made it funny. I do remember very little about watching the show with my cousins. Good times. Number 10. Max and Ruby. This show follows a similar role to Toopy and Binoo. Ruby does all the talking, while Max just sits there and looks cute. What I wanted to know when I watched this was Ruby's age. I don't know why I overthought these things rather than enjoying the show. But anyway, why I questioned Ruby's age was because she acted like such a higher role model to Max, but still had the immaturity to play with dolls. She's actually 7. I would have never thought of that. I would have thought she was 12. But besides my ramblings, those are the biggest shows that I watched for hours on the TV when I was a kid. Now, This was the hardest list to come up with. There are obviously a lot more shows I watched than the ones on this list, but I had to solidify it to only 10. Of course, I wanted to talk more about the underrated shows rather than the popular ones. I grew up watching SpongeBob, Gumball, and Fairly Odd Parents too, okay? I just want to talk about the ones that I felt like don't get enough attention. Watching these shows again made me feel nostalgic. I've never heard of those titles in years. What I'd do to be a kid again. But at least having the chance to watch what I loved back then gives me ability to feel younger, oblivious of the world's true cruelty.